What's going on, everybody? Godzilla Options here. Welcome to episode 4 of the Weekly Watch series. Before we get started, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment at any point if you have questions, and we'll do our best to answer you. If you're a newcomer, here's how it works. We're going to be looking over a few setups that we're watching in our Discord, going over those entries and exits while showing you the charts of those same stocks as well as some technical analysis. As usual, I'm joined by Smart Trades with a few of the setups that he likes as well for the coming week. We're also adding another element to this and future episodes where we're going to be going over the indexes too. For those newcomers, that's SPY, QQQ, and DIA. First, let's go over last week's watch list and talk about the successes and failures. First one on the list is Wells Fargo. And what we were looking for with Wells Fargo was a range expansion into this kind of double top area that we have on the weekly here, or this previous pivot point, I guess I should say. And that's exactly what we got. So if I zoom in here, our trigger to enter some calls was at $46.39. And we got that and much more. I grabbed some 46.5 calls expiring at the end of this week, and they ended up going for 400 to 500% before I decided to get rid of them all. Of course, I do progressive exit, so when I'm up a certain amount, I'll let go of some of my contracts, and then so on and so forth, all the way up till I have one or two runners left, and they go for quite a bit more. So Wells Fargo was a massive winner. Another one on the list was UAL. And if we take a look at what UAL was what we were looking for, we wanted to see that it went up as well. We had a 2-1 week. Now, the thing with the 2-1 setup is that it can go either way. We don't really care. 1 bars are considered consolidation, so it could have gone up, it could have gone down. And that's exactly what we got. We got both. We got an outside bar on the weekly here with UAL. Now, one thing I did mention is that this orange bar up here, this was a double top. Let me zoom out and tell you or show you why. So we had this previous point around here where we came up and it pivoted right back down. So that's exactly what happened again. We came up in through this area, and now it's actually become a triple top because we had the previous week 116 up there as well. So we have a triple top now with some pretty solid rejection at this area. So we ended up being able to get into some calls and make some money off those calls eventually towards the later part of the week, I believe. So let's see if you pick the day. Not Monday, but not really Tuesday or Wednesday, but Thursday is the day that gave us the trigger to enter, and then Friday was the sell-off with everything else. So Thursday was the day where this one went for us pretty big. So that is UAL. So that's 2 for 2 so far. Next one on the list was Amazon. They reported earnings this week, and they weren't overly great. But at the same time, it did get some pretty solid run-up. So what we were looking for with Amazon was a break of the 3 bar, some range expansion here. That's what we were talking about doing, or looking for, I should say. So we were initially targeting 119.50 and then 123. So what did we get here? And the reason why we were targeting that area is back from here. This 3 bar has a lot of magnitude in it, and there really is no pivot point or anything like that in the way as far as resistance goes. So we were looking there to just get a quick pass through. So what did we end up getting? Well, let me go ahead and remove some of this stuff here, and we filled the gap that was there on the weekly. But we did get our break to the upside to take out the previous month's high, and now we went right up into 114. So if I take a look at the day here, you'll see why 114 was drawn there on that chart. There was a massive gap fill here, and it went up. So this was the day of earnings, which they posted their earnings after hours, and this is how the market reacted after their earnings. So like I said, wasn't overly stellar, but at the same time, Amazon was definitely a winner play if you did get into it and got out of it before the earnings release. And last but not least on the list is Boeing. Boeing was the one that didn't really work out for us this week. If we take a look at the weekly chart, kind of break this down a little bit, we were looking for Boeing to actually break to the downside of the 3-bar. So that did not happen, obviously, but we do have a 2-down reversal, and what we might be looking for now is a 2-2 or a failed 2-down, I should say, or failed 2 up. My apologies. And we're looking for a 2-down reversal here. Now, it's a pretty shallow price target, but BA is actually on my watch list, and we're going to go over that in a little bit here to talk about why. But yep, so BA was the one that was not a winner. So 3 out of 4 this week would have made some good serious money for you. I hope you were able to take advantage of those. So we're going to try to add another element to the weekly watch videos from now on, and that's a general outlook on the indexes for the week to come. That gives us an idea of whether a trade that we're looking at is something that we should really be getting into. After all, if the indexes like SPY, QQQ, and DIA are going down, why would we be looking at getting into something long that is associated with any of those? If the markets are tanking, why would I get into those things? That's the question. So let's take a look at SPY. That's what we're going to start with. These aren't going to be very long. They're going to typically take maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're just going to move on to the actual watch list. So, like I said, starting with SPY here, we're looking at this on the monthly. We have gone 2 up on the month, so we have a 2-1-2. However, we do notice here, if we start to drill down into these smaller time frames, the week has a pretty solid pivot machine gun setup. And by pivot machine gun, I mean these lows are all getting higher. So we have a bunch of higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, all the way down to here. You need 5 in a row here to make a pivot machine gun, which means then we'd be looking at people or at the market movers to drive this price down really quickly so that it starts taking out any of the stops that people have sitting around these areas. So that's what the weekly looks like. Now, if we look at the daily, the market was moving up pretty solidly throughout the week, and then what ended up happening is Amazon, Google, and Apple all reported their earnings on Thursday after hours, and here is what happened on Friday. We had a decent little run up. It worked out nicely. I think the good news is bad news type of situation applied. And then towards the end of the day, actually, I guess more middle of the day. So, I mean, we can even take a look at, what Friday looked like here, what Friday looked like here. So, come 12:30 lunchtime, we just pretty much had a market downturn. We're in a consolidation area here. You saw that here. So Thursday, we moved up nice and high. We kind of went back up to that same general area, and then we just couldn't find the volume needed to continue to move the market in the upward direction. So what we have here is a failed 2 down because it's green and it's down. But I mean, this is a shooter candle if I ever saw one right here. So shy of somehow finding some sort of buyer situation come next week, Monday, Tuesday, whatever, I definitely think that we're going to see a 2 down candle on the daily start the week off, or be very quick early on in the week. And if that ends up happening, start being on the lookout for the weekly target here of or the daily target of 402.41, and then we have a further move down. And if we do end up seeing a 2-2 reversal, be on the lookout for that PMG to start taking out these areas. But that would be a pretty big drop for any given day on SPY here. But then again, I guess it could happen. All right, next on the list is going to be QQQ. I have to be a little faster with these. Again, SPY and QQQ have a few of the same tickers that pretty much lead the way. So Apple, Amazon, and Google, they have a pretty large. In fact, I think both of them have that's the top 3 stocks that they have in their portfolio. So they're going to move very similar. If we look at the week first, the weekly candle, again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles PMG potential right here. So that's something to be looking at, just like with SPY. If we look at the day, we have a failed 2 down. It is a shooter candle, so be aware of that. And we do have a small gap that needs to be filled still to 303.43. Nothing crazy, nothing super serious there. In fact, why even have it on a chart when it's only like $1? But hey, you never know. So I could easily see this coming down and retesting the previous month's high. We did see a double top up here, so we came up and double topped this guy on the weekly, and then we pretty much came right back down. So as of right now, that double top is acting as some pretty solid resistance. So that is an area 311.08 that has some pretty solid resistance there. And the weekly high for the previous week, or the current week, I guess, is 313.68. And yeah, be on the lookout for a reversal. That's really what I am kind of thinking that we're going to be seeing this coming week. So there's QQQ. And now we have DIA. So the car manufacturers, the banks, stuff like that. That's really what DIA is comprised of. Catch up stuff, So what do we have? Well, let's start with the weekly again. I'm sorry, monthly. So month, we have a double inside month so far. So January was a inside bar, right? We had a failed 2 up in December. January was an inside bar, and right now we have an inside bar doji candle. So very much indecision here. We did kind of come up. So now that you've seen what the month is currently looking like, mind you, we are just 3-4 days into the month, so there's not really a lot of data to go on there. But when you see what happened here, this is the first week of the month. We had to move up. DIA moved up, and I mean, in this case, when we look at the recap we looked at the recap for Wells Fargo, that's part of finance is part of DIA. It moved up and then it came back down. Now let's move down to the daily to see what that really looks like. So here we have this past week, this green kind of highlighted candle here. So we had a chop day, crappy day, the first trading day of the week for the month, but not in fact February. It was the 30th. So here's 31st. And then we had this big move on the 1st. And then we had an inside bar, and now we kind of had the retracement here. So, yeah, that you could see that this area is acting as some pretty strong resistance, right? And even on the daily here, that area is a double top. I have this other horizontal green box here is area of like liquidity and resistance that I have mapped out. So, right around the previous week's high over here. And also we have the previous month's high right there. So that's definitely an area of resistance. I wouldn't be looking to, go DIA long until we get above, until we make a 2 up month with a pretty strong, like daily candle. And then get a retest of that level, and then, get a reversal back up. So that is DIA, and that's going to be the recap. Okay, first on my list is C, or Citigroup. So why am I looking at this? Well, let's start at the monthly level. So as of right now, the month is a failed 2 up. That's how we've set up. We did go 2 up. We did, break the previous month's high of 50.29, and then we promptly came back inside of that previous month. So that is on the monthly. If we look at the weekly, which is where the actual setup was that the bot in our Discord called out, we have a PMG to the downside candidate. Now, there's a lot of them on the bot found CCL, DKing, eBay, IWM, Meta, QCOM, QQQ, SPY, UPST, XLC, Disney, XLY, SQ, and of course C. I like C the most because this is what the weekly candle is. This is a shooter candle. So it's a lot easier to have a 2-2 reversal to the downside to start taking out stop losses with a failed 2 up shooter candle. I don't know if you can really find a better setup than that. So that is why I personally like C. Now, if you're looking to trade options, they aren't really all that expensive. Next week's expiration, which if you want to buy yourself some time, you can always move to the 17th of February. Those are still relatively priced actually pretty decently. Where you can get at the money contracts as of the end of day Friday for around $62 a contract. So they're really, or those are the calls, sorry. The put side here, since we're looking at the downside, the 50s are even cheaper. They go for like 30 cents or $30 a contract. So you definitely have some ability here to get into a decent play, and it's not going to cost you a ton of money. Now, so what am I looking at here? Well, these are the weeklies. So if I zoom in, the white lines are the lows of the previous candles, right? To make a pivot machine gun, we need 5 candles, consecutive candles with higher lows. So in this case, for the downside move, higher lows for the downside move. So here's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles right here. So will we see a complete slide next week of from $50 to $42.91? Not likely at all. But what we will see is some stops getting taken out. We do notice here that as of right now we have a higher pivot point, so I wouldn't expect this to go to a lower pivot point unless some catastrophic news comes out next week. I mean, maybe the Chinese spy balloon isn't exactly what we thought it was in the first place. I don't know. That would be catastrophic. We go to war. Of course, the stock market's probably going to drop there, and then we'll go into my next stock that might actually help that scenario. So anyway, this is C on the weekly. So if I look at it on the daily, here's our level. So again, we had the failed 2 up on Thursday, and then Friday was just a gap down, 2 down. So that pretty much made the high. Those 2 days made the high and the low for the week for C right there. So again, what I'm looking at seeing is waiting for, while the trigger point on the weekly is $50.53, I'm going to wait until the 50.42 area, just because this is such a shallow price target for the first stops to get taken out. Let's see where let's see if these buyers are already out. Let's see if they took their profit quick. So let's see if we pass through 40.52 pretty quickly and then move all the way down to 40.87. Now this green horizontal line here, that's going to be some liquidity. I want you to go look at it like on the 4 hour here. The reason why is it's a pivot point. We have a wick. If I look at it on a smaller hour, here we go. So look at a smaller hour, same area here. Again, definitely a pivot point. So let's see. I mean, it was a strong move to the upside that day. So let's see if the buyers that bought here set their stop losses around here as well. That's what we're looking for, because if so, then there's going to be a bunch of market sell orders, and then we just drop through. Now, there is this guy over here on, what day is this? 113. Again, same kind of thing. A lot of liquidity could be around here, but that also, same area, So I think these 2 days are very closely associated with this bottoming out and then a quick move up. So that is going to be C. So your levels for entry are going to be below either 50.53 with a very tight stop loss to see if we reverse at 50.42 or if we drop through. And then your first price target is going to be $48.47. This is not an upside play. This is just a downside play. So that's C. Next on my list is Boeing, or BA. Why? Well, if we look at the monthly, very similar to C, we have a failed 2 up on the month right now. And that's definitely something that I like to see for a further downside move. So let's continue to drill down in the time frames to see if this really is valid. So yes, we have a failed 2 up month, but is this just one of those like pump fakes, or what are we looking at here? So all right, the week. Well, the reason why I really like BA is because of this failed 2 up shooter candle, just like we saw on C. These are relatively strong. So what we have here is a failed 2 up. Now, mind you, if we take a look at the bull flag that's formed here, we do have some range expansion in the broadening formation. So what are we really looking at if we were to get into puts under 205.62? Well, let's go down to the daily to get a better idea. Number one, we'll go down even further to take a look at this horizontal liquid, this liquidity zone. But 205.62 is the previous week's, this past week's low. Now the 204.52 area is the previous month's 50% range, right? You have the blue high, the blue low, that's the month, and then our 50%. So this is also going to be an area of some potential support that we want to look out for. And then we have this broadening formation bottom right around, let's say, if we end up seeing that, Monday or Tuesday, we're going to be around the 203 area. So these are all areas of potential support that I want to see BA tank through to go down to the previous month's low. All right. So, I'm not going to get into anything until I see a break of this broadening formation, and then I see a massive, and then I start seeing some volume come in here to drive this price down. Now, if I go to like the 4-hour and take a look at where these liquidity zones are, what we have is maybe down even further, but we have a pivot point back up, another pivot point, and we're sitting right around here again. So the inverse side of this play, while we do have a failed 2-up, I will go ahead and talk about the inverse side. Nothing technically actionable, but what we do have is, you might as well talk about potential upside move. So if we do end up seeing this, I mean, look at these bounces, right? Like, right, these we come down to this liquidity zone and the buyer starts snatching things up. Come back down, buyer snatch it up. So we're right here approaching that liquidity zone again. Are the buyers going to snatch this up and take it higher? If so, we have our first level of resistance around here. I might as well go ahead and, we're looking at the 4 hours, so I might as well go ahead and draw it out right around here. Actually goes past the previous month's high. There's liquidity on both sides of the previous month's high. So yeah, I'd be looking to see if this area then acts as some sort of resistance, and then we start going sideways more. If so, BA is not a play that I'd want to get into there. So there's a lot of things of confluence that need to happen for me to say I like BA as an actual play. I like the potential of it, but am I going to take my money, especially since contracts for next week aren't that cheap, right? I mean, if we take a look at where this price could go, 192.4. So if we look at the put side here, we'd be looking at maybe the 195, so that we end up somewhere in the money. That's still pretty far out of the money right there. You're 5 strikes out. I tend to like to maybe be 1 or 2 at most. So like I said, a lot of things of confluence need to happen here. But if those 3 things happen that I talked about to the downside, I mean, we don't really have a lot of things making resistance after that. We have this pretty shallow kind of liquidity area here at 200-ish, 201, 200, might as well say. And then just this massive, fair value gap right here that we would need, that we obviously have then too. So yeah, there really isn't a lot of downside resistance once you get past those 3 things I talked about. So chart those out, make sure that your risks here, and be on the lookout for some volume punch through. That's really what you're looking for here. You're not looking for small candles. You're looking for large quick candles that pass through things on some larger time frames, not like the 1 minute or the 2 minute, maybe the 5 to 15. All right, and then again, the upside here would be watch out for the liquidity and rejection that we've had of the previous month's high already. So that's going to be something to look out for too. So that is BA.
Let's move over to the weekly for Micron MU. It did make a 2-2 reversal price, 62.41. If you look down here, MACD is starting to curl a little bit upwards, but it's still below the main line here. Also, the money flow is looking positive as well, which is a good sign. But at the same time, if you look on the chart here, take a little bit closer look, you see that the 50-day moving average is about to cross the 200-day moving average. that would signal a death cross, which is bearish. But it hasn't happened yet. It looks like it's about to happen though. But the money flow is still good for now, so we'll see what happens. So if we do go 2 up over here on the week, call entries would be at 63.92. First price target, I would target would be 66.11. Then after that, 68.34, and then if it makes it past 68.34, I would try to target this 100-day moving average, which is about 71.76 area. So that would be the 3 targets to the upside. If you want to get put entries, if this does do a death cross and it actually stays as a death cross, a put entry would give you an entry at 58.65. The first price target would be 55.28. Second profit target would be 51.49, which is low of this 3 bar. And then after that, you have a lot of support down here around 48.45 area. If it doesn't get down below that, there's a 600-day moving average down here, which is all the way down at 42.87, but I don't think it's going to make it in 1 week. But there's a lot of support here, so you never know. So that's my take on MU. Hey, what's up, everybody? So the next stock on the weekly watch for me is going to be Visa. Let's take a look, starting off here at the monthly chart. Monthly, we still have an inside month over here, and we have a lot of room to break both ends. It's above the 80 EMA, above the 50, above 600. The MACD on the month just crossed up a little bit, but money flow is also above the 0 line. I don't know if it will stay there or come down. We'll have to find out. But let's move over to the weekly, which is on the left. We do have an inside week here, but it's a little doji candle over here, as you can see. So a move above or below this, you can see a nice price action once it breaks either way. On the bottom, you have your MACD still diverging upwards, which is positive. Money flow is still looking good for the week, which is positive as well. We're above the 8 EMA trend line, which is also good. So everything is looking positive for Visa. So if we do kind of break above this weekly inside bar and make it a 312, enter in at 243.30. The first price target would be 242.18, and then after that, 252.67. There's not much. The high here is 256.67. That's why I put that there. If it goes 312 to the downside, you would enter at 227.64. First price target I would target is 224.34. Price target 2 would be 220.31. And then finally price target 3, 216.63. If it does break all that, we have more room to the downside up to the 50-day moving average down here, which is at 207.17. And then this red line, which is the 200-day moving average, which is at 202.03. And then if it breaks all this support back down to here, which is support over here, 186. And then if you want to go further down, 182, about 183. And then after that, 175.15. So we have pretty much a lot of room both ways. So I think this would be a good one for a long term if it breaks out of the weekly doji candle. So that's my take on Visa.
That's going to wrap up this edition of the Weekly Watch. Make sure you join our free trading Discord with the link in the description field to get intraday strat setups with our custom bots. Also remember to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and click that bell to get notified when we drop another video. Happy trading!